All right, what's happening, everybody? So check this out. Get some light there. This is a 1924 Gibson A1 mandolin. You can see already what's going on there. See down the inside, see the crack. Here's the crack in the back right here. This line is me. I'm starting to score down the seam where the two halves of the back join together. So that's just my guideline there. I'm gonna get either a small blade or a hot knife, and I'm gonna try to separate this triangle piece from this half of the guitar and down here. This is going to be the challenge right here, because I've got the kerf lining down here, I've got the binding, and then of course I've got the whole edge of the guitar that this piece is glued to. So got to get this out in one piece. Once I get this out, I will cut some bracing for the back, and they'll probably probably 1, 2, 3, and they'll be real small. They'll be shaped to the inside of the back of the guitar. The way that I do that is I just get a piece of sandpaper and I'll tape it down where the brace is going to go, and then I'll get that piece of wood and I'll sand it on that piece of sandpaper until it perfectly fits across the back of the guitar. Once I got that, I'll make it a parallel line to fit the inside, because this is on the inside and I'd be sanding the outside. But I just cut that into like a perfectly parallel line so that it fits the inside back of the guitar. And then I'll glue those braces in. And then I will take this piece, this triangle piece, and I will glue it back in onto those braces and back onto its original half. What that's going to do is that's going to leave me with a gap, a big gap. You see the big old, see all the light coming out there? So that's kind of a big gap, right? It's too much of a gap for me to try to squeeze this back together. I even put a clamp on it and put some pressure on it to see if there's any movement to squeeze these back together, and it's just too much of a squeeze. If I squeezed it that hard, I would be putting so much stress on the sides of this guitar, and then after I get it glued, the guitar is going to want to still go back to this shape, right? It's 100 years old. All that's going to do is stress the guitar. So either that's going to open back up, or it's just going to open up somewhere else on the guitar. It wants to be in the shape that it is right now. I can try to cut a sliver of wood and cram it in there, but I've seen people do that on the front of the guitar, and it always shows. They always say, look, you can barely see it. Like, I could see it. It's not the right way to fix it, in my opinion. So I gotta cut this triangle out. I gotta glue this back onto this. Glue it onto the new braces that I put in there, because there are no braces inside this guitar. So I'll make some real fine, real delicate braces that are pretty much just alignment braces, right? To align this half of the back with this half of the back. I'll glue and clamp those in. I'll glue this back in. That's going to leave my new gap right here. Then I will take my router and I will run my router right down the center of this, so that I'm taking a little bit off of this half and a little bit off of this half. And then I will cut a piece of wood to fit inside here. Probably a piece of walnut or rosewood or something that's not maple to skunk stripe the back of the guitar. That way, I'm not adding any stress back to this instrument. I'm just filling a gap between this half and this half. It should look pretty good, but you know, that's going to be the challenging part right there. Getting this off in one piece without damaging the binding or the side of the guitar or the kerf lining, or you know, that's the challenge. But I think with some heat and with some patience, I think I can get that out without ruining it. And then cutting this piece, that's also a lot easier than you might think. I'll cut the piece to width, and it'll be a straight piece. And then I'll throw it in a pot of boiling water for a half an hour. And then I will take that piece, that straight piece, and I will put it on the back of the guitar. And then I'll just clamp it down all along the length of this and let it dry. And it'll be bent to that arch. And then I glue it in there to the new braces, to the two sides. It'll be sticking up a little bit, and we just take that down, and then we take all this finish off the back, because it's not the prettiest mandolin, right? But there's no big dents or dings or chips or anything in this. There are some things going on with the fretboard. Light on it. Yeah. So there, the fretboard is starting to crack. It's 100 years old, man. I'd be cracking too. We could put some epoxy resin in there. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave the whole rest of the guitar as is, but we do have some wear on the frets. Can you see them? Yeah. But it's not terrible wear. Not at all. So we'll do a fret job, like a little mini fret job. It'll be easy. It'll be quick, and we'll get those cleaned up at that time. If I want to fill any of these cracks while I'm working on these frets, I'll fill them then. But I honestly don't think I'm going to. The hardware is in good shape. Everything works. You know, they need to be cleaned up and maybe oiled a little bit, but I think it's going to be... I think we're going to make it like, I think we're going to give it another 100 years. How's that? All right, so that's the other one that we're working on. I'll keep you guys updated on this one as well. The thing that I dread the most is running my router down the back of this and cutting another slot down that sticker. I know people are going to say, oh, you can get that sticker out by steaming it. Well, you already can't read the handwritten code in there. I had to take pictures of it and then enhance the pictures to be able to read the model. I don't want to take a pencil, because it's just written in pencil. I don't want to take a pencil and go over somebody else's handwriting, because then it's like, it's not authentic anymore. I know it's not worth a lot of money, but it's 100 years old, and it's cool, right? So let's give it another 100 years. Why not? Let's do it. Peace.